Hello and welcome back to Taking Back Saturday, a Happy Buyers Club podcast where we break down the real estate market each and every Friday to help home buyers build confidence, follow a process and hopefully buy really happy. Joining me today is a very special guest, a buyer's agent that we are huge fans of, particularly her content directed at buyer education, which is something we try and do a little bit of here at Taking Back Saturday. She is the principal and lead buyer's agent of LJBA, Lauren Jones. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
LJBA, bit of a tongue twister.
I know, we do get LGBT or some kind of variants too often.
It's like, thank you so much. What possessed you to get into real estate?
I was an accident. So I was actually in finance beforehand. I was a mortgage broker. And I hated giving clients loans and then they would come back and buy, not the right property for themselves, or they'd overpay, or they'd buy flood affected properties, just problem properties. And I wanted to be part of them making good property decisions. So I started emailing the agencies that I read their books, listened to their podcasts, trying to see if I could come on as a mortgage broker in that kind of capacity. Mm-hmm. One company did respond to me in Brisbane and they let me know that they would love to have me on. However, they don't actually have a broking division. They said, come be a buyer's agent, associate with us. And that's how it all started.
How long ago was that?
About 4 years now.
Okay. And what's changed in the last 4 years? Like in
a lot.
Yeah. Nice.
A lot.
Like when did you start, when did you go out on your own? Like when was LJBA launched, or at least in its V1 version? About
2 years ago. So We're coming up to our 2 years, probably next month, I guess, or in a couple of weeks' time.
Nice one. And has having like that sort of finance background been really helpful?
It helps a lot. I'm able to kind of troubleshoot and I understand the jargon and the lingo. And also I can keep deals alive. Like every now and again, a deal, comes a little bit unstuck with finance and I'm either able to put them on to someone who can help or just explain things to them, because it can all become a bit murky and people can become a little bit confused.
Are you super critical of people's mortgage brokers that they have because you've been there and done that?
I know which ones are good and which ones are bad. Nice
one. If you weren't a buyer's agent and you weren't in finance, what would you be doing?
I would love to retrain as a lawyer.
Oh my God, you've got the triple threat. You could just cover everything. Just like, come into my office, I'll look after everything. We can literally land the entire plane from here. We can get your finance sorted, find you the property, and then do your conveyancing at the end.
Pretty much, but I don't like school.
You actually want to be like work in law? Like, isn't that just like
one day I'd still retrain, but like I think it's 3 or 4 years.
Man, I sometimes look at those emails that we get sort of in like admin week, sort of post contracts, and you're just like, oh my God, the legal jargon like makes my brain like swell. But hey, kudos.
I love the thinking 2 steps forward part of it. I don't know, I think it'd be fun and going to court, but I guess it's a stressful job as well, isn't it? I don't want to study for that long. Like, let's be real. I'm in real estate.
It's not like Suits. Mate, you sound like you're a problem solver, and that is an amazing attribute to have when you're working with people, particularly in very high-stressed situations like buying houses and selling houses. So good on you. Speaking of high-stress situations, I understand that you are learning to fly at the moment. What is that like?
I am. I'm only on lesson 3 so far. I had to cancel the last 2 because of Cyclone Alfred. The first couple were actually really stressful because there's so many moving parts and like you're so out of fish out of water. But the last one was really good. I didn't get too motion sickness either. I keep forgetting to take my motion sickness pills.
Hold up. So you're actually flying. Like you're in the air on lesson 3. You're in the air. Like it's not like you're doing textbooks for the first 2 lessons or like in a one on the ground that they like wheel you around. You just pretend to press the buttons.
Well, so it's kind of like, remember when you learn to drive a car, except you got both pedals and you've got a steering wheel on both sides. So I might do like 50% of the lesson. So he'll take off still. But then once we're there, like he'll hand over to me and I'll have full control over it. And we'll kind of test like what buttons you press and what actions come from it, like whether the nose points up or down or, you kind of turn sideways.
I'm extremely impressed.
It's good fun.
Is there any metaphor for flying a plane and running a real estate business or buying houses?
I guess if anything, you've got to know your stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
And you know what? I think as well, checklists are so important when you're flying a plane, like processes. So when you start to fly a plane, or before you've flown the plane, you've got a bunch of checklists that you got to follow through. Like you've got to walk around the whole plane, you've got to check that the fuel's, it hasn't got any water in it, everything like that. And it's just same with buying a property. Like you've got to check the retaining walls are good.
Yeah, nice one.
Yeah.
You're with LJBA. Like, are you working with predominantly investors or family buyers?
We're doing about 50-50 at the moment. I'm seeing a lot more investors at the moment.
Do you have a preference?
Not really. I just like working with good people. For sure.
And that's the thing. We do a lot of stuff with family buyers, and it is like flying a plane. Very high stress, and you take on a lot of those stresses, but the reward at the end is just so fantastic because you become part of their lives for that those few weeks or few months, whatever it may be. The reason I ask is because I know that you're an investor yourself, and I wanted to ask you what some of the most important things that you look out for when you're like assessing assets for both yourself and clients.
Yeah, I think one thing that's been really important for me, so the first buyer's agency I worked at, that was capital growth. And that was really it. Cash flow didn't matter. Maintenance didn't matter. I purchased one of these investment properties myself, and it has been the absolute bane of my existence.
Is that the one that you wanted to get knocked down in the cyclone?
I really hoped Alfred blew it away from me. It survived. The bathroom upstairs is leaking downstairs, and it's got asbestos in it, so that's going to be $30,000 to replace that. The bathroom downstairs is leaking through to the other wall. The tenants were grubs. We have to get all new carpets. Everything just needs to be done. I purchased another investment property. I didn't learn from the first one. I can do these things with my clients, but I don't take my own advice. It's so...
We'll delete this out of the pod.
I know, I went so wrong.
God, stop.
It was so funny. So I bid an auction on a property for myself, and I don't follow my own practices on my own properties. With my clients, total risk mitigation. Yeah. I was bidding at auction for this property, and one of my friends who's a buyer's agent down in Melbourne, he was helping me out. And I was like, yeah, pre-approval hasn't come through yet, but I'm good for it, I swear. And he's like, I thought you were going to have everything to a T. And I'm like, no, I know what I know. But when I'm spending other people's money, it's a totally different...
For sure, and that's because there is a very high level of care and respect that needs to be given to other people's, futures. Yeah, I think... So what now, when you're looking at potential assets, it's got to have a bit more balance to it. There's a lot more sort of broader scope as opposed to just hey, the data suggests that this particular area and these types of properties are going to grow exponentially over the next set period of time.
I think it's more about understanding the client's need for or their risk tolerance for maintenance.
Gotcha.
So generally the older style homes on a better block of dirt, where you're paying more for the land versus the house, they're going to go up in value more. But that often tends to come with more maintenance. So is this client able to hack, a new bathroom renovation in a couple of years' time, paint, carpet, a lot of repair work over the next few years for that capital growth? Or would they prefer to have a little bit less capital growth, perhaps a little bit more rent and a little bit less of a headache?
For sure.
I find most people prefer less of a headache, and they'll cop, 1% capital growth per year.
Definitely. And you got to remember sometimes those investors are interstate or they are overseas, and those headaches become bigger headaches because they're not there. They're not, they can't go and view the headache, so to speak. So they're sort of having to rely on a property manager, having to rely on trades they don't necessarily know to go and fix these headaches or perform maintenance. And it's just one of those things where it's I would rather just a more balanced asset that's going to do well for me, but doesn't have to be the absolute data specific cream of the crop for capital growth. I get you. I saw an article that you wrote last month about buyer superstitions. Is that something that you've had to manage with buyers in the past?
I've had a couple, yeah. I've got one at the moment where they can't have a front door that faces west.
Okay, yeah.
I don't really understand it. I've had other buyers where they can't have the toilet wall shared with the kitchen wall.
Yeah, fair enough. That's actually super convenient for plumbing sakes. I'm a plumber by trade, and having to have
water in one space.
Well, wet spaces sort of married back to back does make things logistically easier when you're building, repairing, all that sort of stuff. But hey, anyway, it's bad feng shui, right?
Yeah. Eights. Chinese buyers obviously love eights. Chinese buyers as well for feng shui. They don't want to be at the top of a court, having the door facing out to the court.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I will be honest here. Sometimes when I do my walkthrough videos and I'm walking through a property, I'll flippantly say oh, that's bad feng shui. No idea. Absolutely nothing. I need to probably do a bit of a crash course with you as to like what some of these things are, because I'll often my big one, obviously T intersections. I know that one clearly because that's just bad for headlights. That's not feng shui. People don't want headlights coming through their front window. That's practicality.
Yeah.
But then I'll walk into bathrooms and be like, oh, you can't have the toilet right there. That's bad feng shui. I don't think that's bad feng shui. I don't think that's just people just don't want to open the door and see someone sitting on the toilet. So feng shui or not, I need to pick up a few tips from yourself. Okay, what we do is not exactly glamorous. It is a lot of due diligence, lots of inspections, lots of phone calls to real estate agents. What is your best tip for buyers when it comes to dealing with real estate agents?
Ooh, I think don't be cagey with them. Like I find it quite funny actually. Sometimes you'll go around to open homes and you'll hear like the buyers whispering together, oh my God, I love this property so much. And then you hear them back talking with the agent, oh, I'm not too sure if we're keen on this. Like, You've got to tell the agent that you're keen. Otherwise, they might simply just sell it to someone else because they don't even know that you're interested.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a big part of what we tell our engaged clients that what we're doing about, but also just everyone be like, on a Saturday afternoon, if you've gone and seen 5 or 6 properties, like even if it's a text message, you don't have to be big brave bash your chest and be like, I love this property and I intend to buy it this afternoon. But a text message to at least be kept in the loop. There's nothing worse than that feeling of like, Monday rolls around, it's sold Saturday night, weren't even part of the conversation, or it's going to best and finals at midday on Monday and you're scrambling because you just didn't do that follow-up. So it is super important. And I get it. They are human, real estate agents. There's some nice ones out there.
They want to sell it to you.
Invariably, you need each other. Buyers, sellers, selling agents, you all need to work together to make it possible. Okay. See a property you like or hear about a property that you like. What's the first question that you ask an agent about that property?
Is it available?
What's the second question you ask?
But on that, like I've had so many clients, they come to me and one of their pet peeves is they'll go to an open home and it's already under contract and you're wasting your time. Ask them if it's available.
Mate, I have been to an open before, listed on the Friday, and I was like, okay, well, make the call, no answer, voicemail. All right, we'll go see it in the morning. We'll do a bit of homework on it. Got there and she was standing there at the front door. There had been 40 groups there, and she was telling each person individually that she put it under contract sight unseen that night.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it was like there was like, we need to get the riot squad in here. People are not impressed.
The unhappy buyers club.
But you're not wrong. Like people are frustrated with that sort of stuff because like we know why those listings are left on, because there might be a conditional contract on it, and they're like, well, we don't want to lose 2 weeks of momentum. But yeah, good question. Is it available? But seriously, what's the second question that you ask?
We always ask about price as well. I think only about 25% of properties in Queensland are listed with a price. So we always ask for a price guide. If they won't give a price guide, actually, here's a trick. So if I'm interested in a property, but it's going to auction, agents can't disclose in Queensland what the price guide is. I'll often call them and say, hey, I've got a buyer at 1.2 million. Have you got anything that might suit this client? And if they tell you that property, then you know that one's going to fall within budget, or they're looking kind of within that price point.
For sure. Or you can be like, hey, I've got a client that's got this amount of money. Are they wasting their time looking at this property? I understand they've got to sort of work within the regulations. You and I, we're not the OFT. We're not going to report them and, lock this agent up. He gave me a price guide on this property. But yeah, like any way in which you can get just a little tidbit, because yes, it's frustrating for buyers to not have price guides. It's more frustrating to waste time, energy, effort to go and see properties that you clearly can't afford, or maybe you don't even realise that you can't afford, and that it's your 3 weeks down the line and you're like, wow, that sold $300,000 over the budget that I'm working with. So that's tough.
Especially because most of the time in the back end, the agent will list the property less than what they intend to sell it for, just so that they get maximum views, maximum people coming through the property to increase the price. Like they're working in the best interest of the seller. Like that's the reality of it at the end of the day. But if you come to them, a lot of the time they will be honest. Like I even had one I was going to bid at auction for this Friday, and I said, look, we've got about 950-ish. Like we had a little bit more. I said, am I wasting my time? I've got a function afterwards. I'm going to be like,
I've got a podcast to get to.
Yeah. I'm going to Happy Buyers podcast. And I said, can you please just let me know if I'm wasting my time? And he pretty much said, yep, you're wasting your time.
Yeah.
Like we've already got offers well over that.
That's the thing. Like I think a lot of people are fairly abrupt with the way that they ask about pricing, and yes, like here in Brisbane, here in Queensland, a lot of property is sold without a price for a reason. It's because they do want to have as many people come through the opens as possible. They do want to have people sort of feeding the greed, or at least there's this feeling that there is a lot of interest when really there might only be a handful of people that can actually afford that property that are in it. But by sort of asking the same question in a different way, there is ways to sort of navigate that situation, I find. And about the advertised range of properties, like if people are like, hey, I've got my search range between 1 and 1.5, like why am I seeing stuff that's going to sell for $2 million? The way they band it in the background often means that if you've got a crossover with where the search parameter is, you're going to see stuff potentially that's banded between 1.5 to 2 million. And yes, agents do sometimes put them on the lower end because there's more people viewing those, and then they might even shift the banding later on. Oh, don't say that. Sam and I, we are big fans of the content that you do.
Thank you.
Mainly because it is super educational stuff. It's super practical stuff. Why do you do it?
Brand awareness. That's mainly it. I think it's good as well because we go to a lot of open homes and agents know who we are. And if we haven't met them in person, they've often seen us on social media. It's quite cool at the moment. Like we post a lot of stories as well about what we're doing around the office, what's going on in our day. And I'll catch up with people and they're like, you got a new office, or you hired this new girl. I'm like, how do you know that? It's like everyone just thinks we're best friends all of a sudden, and it's cool. Like, but I think as well it's credibility. Given that we did only start the business 2 years ago, like it's starting to seem like quite a long time, but you still need to have things like that to boost that credibility so people know that you actually know what you're talking about. Definitely.
Like I think for us all, we've got two sets of clients. One set of clients is our actual buyers, and them seeing that we know what we're talking about is like reassuring for them, and it's often the reason why they get in touch. And then our other set of clients are the real estate agents who we know are all watching, and they want to know who we are, and again want to know that we're not full of shit and that we know what we're talking about. So that's a good thing. On the new office, how is the new office in Wavell Heights?
Love it.
If you were to compare Wavell Heights to a south side suburb, what
well, we all know the north side is the right side of the river.
No. Wavell Heights is like the equivalent of what suburb on the south side? We have had endless arguments about this here at Happy Buyers Club.
It gives me kind of Camp Hill vibes.
Stop it. It's not.
It's suburbia.
The people of Wavell Heights are dancing in the streets right now if they think that that's the Camp Hill of the north.
But like then again, if I'm thinking about it, like let's go knock down, rebuild, block of dirt, Wavell Heights versus Camp Hill. Camp Hill, you're probably looking at what, 1.5 for a good pocket?
Keep going. It's like,
maybe you need to negotiate harder.
I think that. Oh, my heart. On that note, we're wrapping it up. We thought it was the Carina Heights of the north. You're welcome, both Carina Heights and Wavell Heights. I think they are the dead equivalent of each other.
What's the Camp Hill equivalent, like Gordon Park?
Yeah, just keep getting closer.
Okay.
Lauren, thank you for 20 minutes of your time. Let's go get coffees and Reubens from Little G down the road. She's Lauren. I'm Chase. Cue the song.